The biggest mistake I ever made professionally. It's it's hard to rank them, right? When you think about the mistakes you've made. I mean, there was at one time where I was supposed to be archiving a database for a customer and replacing it with a new fresh instance of a database, and so I would take the one that was filled with data and move it to OneDrive and then replace it with the empty one, and somehow I overwrote one over the other, and so I lost a whole couple days worth of data. That ranks up there as one of the stupidest moments of my life and one of the bigger mistakes. But that's probably not the top one. Um, if I think through hiring someone who was a total fraud, right? Hiring someone who I literally had to fire 3 days later because I didn't do enough digging, enough background check. I was so rushed to hire someone that I kind of believed what I was told, and I got more excited about the hiring than maybe they were, or than I should have been. And so I hired someone, and I went through all that work to hire someone only to have to let them go a few days later. Realizing that, gosh, when you're hiring people, it's so easy to talk yourself into things because you just want the role filled, right? That was a pretty big mistake and costly for us. Um, I think when I try and rank some of the biggest mistakes I've made, right up there is probably the day I got fired. Right? Well, I don't normally get fired. In fact, I can count on one finger, right? The time that it was just one of those moments where they said, um, "We think this is not going to work out," and I was shocked because I had spent so much time trying to get the product and the company over the goal line that I had not really paid attention to what was happening on my team. And a couple of people were definitely not feeling happy about things, and it kind of turned into a mutiny where two or three people went to my boss and said, "We don't want to work for this guy anymore," and they decided not to ask me about those couple people, but instead, or the situation, they just said, "I think it's time for you to go," and that's up there too, right? You think through. I learned the value of team, and I learned the value of taking care of that team and focusing on that team, not just the product or the project that we were on. But no, the biggest mistake I think I've made professionally has been not something I did, but something I didn't do. See, when we look back on our lives, when we look back over the history of all the different stupid things that we've done, it's easy to pick a few, right? It's easy to look at some and just go, "Yeah, that was a bonehead move, right? That was just stupid." Or maybe it wasn't intentional. Maybe we weren't stupid. Maybe we were just like, "Well, I tried this, but I flailed at it and ultimately failed at it," and so we think, "Well, that was a pretty big mistake." But you don't ever want to you don't want to ever look back and say, "Well, it was a mistake because it didn't work." Because the truth is, right, that you have to take those risks. And maybe that's where it comes back to, what's the biggest mistake I've ever made professionally? Turns out it's not something I did, it's something I didn't do. It's the decisions I didn't make. It's the risks I didn't take. Because like a warm blanket on a comfortable couch, we get comfy. And when we get comfy, we get locked in, and we get to a place where we just think, um, this is this is what I'm doing. And we see this other option, we see this other opportunity, and we go, no, 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 no. I'll stick with safe. I think I can count some of those as I look back. I can't be sure, but I can count some of those instances where I thought about taking a risk and said, no, 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 I'll just play it cool. Gosh, I spent the first decade of my professional career taking risks. And then I got a little older, and what happens? You start getting risk averse. You get a mortgage, you get into a relationship, or maybe you have children. Maybe you buy something. I've never owned a boat, but I have friends that bought a boat, and then they're like, this boat payment is what keeps me in this job. I think what happens is that maybe the biggest mistakes we make are the things we just didn't try. the things we didn't do, the things that we looked at, even thought about. I have a friend of mine who invited me to join his company. And I remember clearly thinking, this could be awesome. And it turns out, if you talk to my friend and asked him about it, it turned out it was awesome. Yeah, they worked hard for a year or two. They sold to a big company, but the experiences and the work they did was groundbreaking. But I remember at the time thinking, I'm going to have to travel like 30% of my, like, no, I don't want to do that. And so I said no. I just got married. I was nervous about it. Less than a year later, I joined a company called Emphasis, and over the course of 8.5 years there, I traveled on average 30 to 40%. By that point, I was willing to say, okay, let's try this. But in that first option, that first appearance of opportunity, I said no. I said no because I was nervous. What happens if I fly around and what if I don't like that? Or what if I'm supposed to show up and be smart and I'm not? I think the biggest risk most of us, the biggest mistake most of us make is we don't take the risk. We don't even know how to quantify it. We don't know how to evaluate it. And so as a result, we stay comfortable. So here's to taking risks. Here's to trying to look back later and being able to pick out the little mistakes we made, but not having to look back with any kind of regret over some of the big opportunities we skipped past. I hope you take a risk today.